All right, so we're going to talk about graphing lines using slope and y-intercept. So here's the first thing you need to know. Slope-intercept form is this y equals mx plus b thing that you've probably seen at some point in time. Maybe it's like somewhere in your memory. Let's kind of break all of this down. Really, there's only two things we really need to break down. So this m right here, this m is slope. So the number that's next to x, that is the slope of the line. And we'll talk in just a moment about that. And then this b right here is the y-intercept of the line. That's where it hits the y-axis. I'm having a little bit of trouble with this app. I've spent the last 10 minutes trying to finagle with it, so hopefully I've fixed my problems. Sorry. So slope, let's talk a little bit more about slope. Slope is equal to rise over run. For the rise part, you're going to go up if slope is positive, and you're going to go down if slope is negative. For the run part, now Alex is going to tell you differently, but I'm going to tell you always go up if slope is positive, down if slope is negative, and for the run, always go right. So in general, the procedure kind of goes like this. Your first step is going to be plotting the y-intercept. Your second step is going to be using the slope to plot your second point. And if you think about it, all I need are 2 points to draw a line. Once I have 2 points, I can draw a line through them. So let's see this in practice, because it's a lot easier to see what's happening once you've seen it in practice. So let's say that we have y equals 1/2 x plus 3. All right, so this 3 right here is my y-intercept. This guy right here is the y-axis, right? We're not talking about x-intercepts, which would be where it hits the x-axis. This number, this b, is always the y-intercept, so it's where it hits the y-axis. So it says it happens at positive 3. That's going to be right here. So I'm going to take and draw myself a dot. Now, the slope part, it says 1/2, and it's positive. There's no negative sign. So this is going to say up 1, right 2. Right? So let me kind of point what's going to happen. So I'm going to start here. I'm going to go up 1 unit, and then to the right 2 units, and plot my second point. I now have 2 points, and I'm going to draw not such a great line, but it gets the idea across, right? So it's not that bad. It's not that bad. We're going to do a few more examples, though. All right, let's do a few more examples. So here's what I have, a few examples for us to go through. When you look at this first one right here, you're going to notice that this number, this 2 next to the x, which the slope is always the thing right next to x, the slope is not a fraction. But that's not a big deal. No big deal. We won't let that get us down. 2 is just the same thing as 2 over 1. Okay, so this is going to be up 2 because it's positive, and right 1. Once I've plotted my y-intercept. So my y-intercept, this is a positive 1. So on the y-axis, that's positive 1. And I'm going to start here at my y-intercept. I'm going up 2, 1, 2, and to the right 1. Right. Plotting my second point. All you need are 2 points to plot a beautiful line. Bam, you're done. Just like that. Now, with this guy over here. He doesn't have a y-intercept. There's nothing over here. So if you only have the thing with x on it, that's like you have a plus 0. It means that you're starting at the origin. You're starting right here. So at y equals 0. Okay. Then my slope, this guy here, is 3 over 4. It's positive, so I'm going to go up 3 and to the right 4. So starting at here, starting at 0, up 3, 1, 2, 3, to the right 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm going to plot my next point right there. Bam. Beautiful line right there. Looking down here at this guy. So a few things that are different here. This says -5 here. Now this minus and this minus are not correlated. This could say +5. This could say positive 2/5 x minus 5. It's not like these have to be the same sign. That's just how this one turned out. Right. So this is a -5, which means that you're going to go to -5 on the y-axis and plot your y-intercept there. Okay. And then the slope is -2 over 5. So it's negative, so we're going to go down 2 and right 5. So starting right here, we're going down 2, 1, 2, and then to the right 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so I'm going to plot my next point there. I'm actually going to draw it out to make sure I hit the right point. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Just because the grid's a little bit tiny here. Okay. So that's what my line looks like. Down 2, right 5. Right. And then finally this guy right down here in the corner, y equals x. This has a few weird things going on. Let's kind of break it down. Right. Very secretly, whenever you have an x by itself, it's like it's a 1x. So really we could think of this as y equals 1x plus 0. Now, using the same idea as we did up here, 1 is the same thing as 1 over 1. So we're going up 1, right 1. The y-intercept is 0 because there's no plus number up here. So y equals 0, up 1, right 1, takes you right here. And if I could draw a beautiful line, it would be a beautiful line. So that's all it is there. So there's two other things that you kind of have to be worried about that are a tiny bit weird, and that's going to be when you have y equals just a number or x equals just a number, right? No x's involved. So if you have y equals a number, this is going to be the line where all the y values, in particular for this guy, all the y values are -2. So you go to -2 on the y-axis, right? And you're just going to draw a horizontal line. That's a terrible line. So if it's y equals a number, it's going to be a horizontal line at that y-intercept. If you have x equals a number, you're going to go to the x-axis, you're going to go to 7 on the x-axis, and then you're going to go and draw a line where all the x values are 7. So that's going to be this line right here. This is going to be a vertical line. So really, you have the gist of everything you need to know at this point. But I want to talk a tiny bit about just two slightly different situations. All right, so looking at this first guy over here, it doesn't look the way that we're used to seeing this. And the only time you're able to use the slope and the y-intercept is if it's in this y equals mx plus b format. So it needs to be y equals. You can't have 2y plus 6x equals 4 and know what the slope and the y-intercept are. So we're going to solve for y. I'm going to start by moving the x's over. So I have 2y equals, I'm going to put the negative 6x first because we are very used to seeing the x's come first. So it's y equals mx plus b. And then I'm dividing both sides by 2. That's going to give me y equals, now negative 6 over 2, that's negative 3x plus 4 divided by 2 is 2. So the y-intercept is 2. A slope of negative 3 is the same as negative 3 over 1. So it's going to be down 3, right 1. So down, starting from here, down 3, 1, 2, 3, and right 1, right 1. Bam, just like that. Something I do want to note, when you're talking about negative slopes, sometimes people will see something like negative 1/2 and they'll be like, oh no, like where does the negative go? You can always pretend this is like negative 1 over 2. If you had like 1 over negative 2, this is also the same as negative 1 over 2. So this negative sign right here is really flexible. He can move around, he can move to the side, he can move up. All of those are valid moves. So just something to kind of keep in mind. Now for this guy here, this kind of looks what we're used to, but the x is second, and that's a little bit obnoxious. So why don't we just rewrite this in a way that's more familiar to us? We are very used to seeing the x first. So I'm going to put the negative 3x first, and then plus 8. I didn't mean to choose negative 3x for the slope on both of these, but that is what happened. All right, so plus 8, y-intercept. I'm going to go, negative 3 is down 3, right 1. Down 1, 2, 3, right 1. Right there. So, there you go. That is just about everything you need to know about plotting lines. I know that Alex spends a lot of time trying to tell you to make tables. We really prefer if you don't make tables. We would prefer if you just knew how to plot lines by plotting the y-intercept and then plotting another point, or plotting the x-intercept and the y-intercept, which is something for a later video. I just wanted to talk about slope-intercept form. So I would really suggest not spending time making those tables and instead just kind of sticking with this fast method. You can get through these line problems on Alex really quick with this method. All right, until next time.